Hi everyone. So today I'm interviewing Tamia. So Tamia, what's new with you? How's everything going?
Everything's going great. In terms of what's new, I've been into collecting books. I think that's the
Mhm.
newest thing. I bought like 4. But the thing is, like, I've never finished any book that I bought. So this is kind of like weird, I guess. But I really hope to finish them. And then I'm also in school, so I have a bunch of homework and stuff that I have to do.
So what made you want to collect books?
It's funny. I just saw these covers. It was like the Barnes and Noble exclusive covers of these like super classic series. And I was like, man, they look so aesthetic that like I would really want them on my bookshelf. And I
Mhm.
think that at least interest me in reading it. And then I saw Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and I really liked that
Oh,
book from my senior year. And so then
yeah,
I was like, maybe I'll just reread it and try to enjoy it for the actual storyline instead of, reading it to study for a test or something. And that's initially what got me started.
makes sense. Okay, good. So what are you doing at school?
School, I'm in community college. This is my first year. I
Mhm.
graduated 2022.
Mhm.
And I'm just there for my general ed, hoping to transfer to a university. And then that's kind of what I have planned out so far.
Makes sense. So the idea is to basically to get you into the university.
Yeah,
And what is the what would you so you go to university eventually get a degree. Where would you like to take that? Do you know?
I kind of want a universal or maybe like, yeah, something, a degree where I could take it into different directions. It's not very like set in stone because
Mhm.
I haven't really thought about my career that much. I'm just trying to like check off the boxes of these university requirements and getting my credits and stuff. So I'm not really studying anything in particular. I do think that I would excel in some sort of mathematics, like accounting or statistics. But I also have this creative side where I wanted to do like animation and make stories and stuff. But I don't know. I only like creating when I want to. I don't want to create because somebody told me to.
Hmm.
Math I can. Math I can do math if someone tells me to do math.
Why is it that for creativity you want that to be self-driven?
I think it's more like authentic, and the idea is probably the best when it's coming from my own motivation than somebody forcing me to think of something or giving me like a guideline to work with. I think I feel too restricted. And I just want to like draw whatever I want to, or like just like make a story however I would want it to go. Something also like personal, stuff like that.
Makes sense. Okay. So when it comes to creativity, you don't want to be the hired hand. You want to be the creator, the true creator of what you
Yeah,
do.
yeah, that's why, like, oh my gosh, I'm in this English class where we have to, like, read these articles and write essays on it and, like, how we feel about it, but again, I feel very, like, confined, and it's like if my idea wasn't lining up to my professor's idea, then I would deduct point or get my points deducted, and I don't like that.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense. Yes. No, that's I can see how that would tamper with creativity.
Yeah,
And
so that's why English and writing hasn't been like my strong suit at all during school. But I always have a lot to say, and my mom thinks that's like really ironic, like contradicting.
fair enough. Okay. So regarding Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, what about that book appealed to you?
I think it really is the like human aspect of the monster wanting to like be loved and stuff, and Victor being like, no, because you're this way, like you're like it's like you're not deserving of it and that you wouldn't be able to understand it anyway. And it's Victor's like closed-mindedness that really made me feel for the monster. I'm like, oh, but just give him a chance, like he just wants to experience what it's like to be a human or have these like emotional connections, or like, finding a wife and stuff like that. I was just like, man, is it really because he's just like some, I guess, man-made monster? Like, but he is capable, the monster is capable of having these like feelings or wanting or having desires and stuff like that. But I guess it's not having the support that made me really interested. And I guess how the monster like reacted to it was obviously the thrill-seeking part, like this whole vengeance or revenge on Victor and stuff like that.
Indeed, that's an interesting part. I guess the question there is, why was the narrow-mindedness of Victor Frankenstein something you found interesting to explore?
I think the short answer is that like he made a man-made monster, so like what part of it is not possible? It's like, why are you being so stuck? Like you literally brought something back from the dead. Like, yeah.
Makes sense. So the sort of the mathematics and statistics side. So that you'll quite happily do for someone else.
Yes. Yeah. I like tutoring and like problem solving when it's very like analytical and there's only one answer. When there's multiple answer, I get a little stressed out. So like I really sucked at geometry, but I really excelled at like algebra 2 and stuff like that.
So okay, so when there are multiple options, when you say you struggle with that, why do you struggle with that exactly?
It's like when there are multiple options, I think there are at least like a few options that all equally seem good that I can't pick which one is the most like clear cut out of all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, but with like algebra, you know that if one answer isn't lining up with the other answers you got, that there's something clearly wrong.
I see. So if you can sit with it, if there's an objective, very clear, straightforward answer, there aren't possible interpretations to make.
Yeah.
That's when you'll. And does it mean that you're not? Do you make silly mistakes much in your work, or is that something which you do as well?
Yeah, it's like sometimes I just overlook the details, or like I'll miss one step and it completely screws up the entire thing, and then I'm like trying to backtrack to see which one or where I messed up, and I'm like, bruh, it was so small. It's like forgetting to divide by 2 or something. Like, I don't know.
That makes sense. And I guess the question there is, when it comes to something like geometry, when you say that there are different possibilities, when you say that this, because isn't geometry still mathematics? Like, well, why are there multiple possibilities, and why is it therefore that one possibility is right and one possibility is wrong?
I think I guess zooming in on like proofs and stuff, like writing proofs, because I took geometry as a summer course, so I guess it wasn't the most in-depth and clear approach to geometry. It was very like rushed.
Yeah.
And he just gave us a bunch of theorems, and he was like, pick the one that applies to the triangle. And I'm like, but both the triangles look the same. And so I was like having a really hard time picking which theorem I guess applies to whatever problem that he asked. And
Right.
I was just like,
Okay. So I guess a question. So why exactly was that difficult? Why exactly? Because there are multiple theorems, and he asked you to pick one that applied. So for him, it was a straightforward answer.
Yeah, I think it was because I didn't understand the like concept to find the right answer, and so I was kind of going into it like blindly.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just not understanding.
So in the other situation, it sounds to me like you have all the information in front of you. So it's just a question of working with the information to come to the answer.
Yeah, that's always what I've struggled with in school in general. But I feel like once I get it, it will not go away. Like it's so like clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting. And I guess I'm interested in the reason I want to look at this further is if could we generalize that idea that when there's some ambiguity and there are multiple possibilities, could we generalize that to say in situations where there are multiple ambiguous options in life, you'll pick the wrong one, or you're more likely to pick the wrong one, and that you need things to be clear and straightforward and without ambiguity. Is
Yeah.
that fair to say?
Yeah, I definitely need like some sense of direction, or yeah. I can't just pick something without having some sort of like background or context to it.
Okay.
Like, you know?
So going back to university,
Mm.
or the university the choice of your career, actually, rather than university.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think, could that maybe be connected? I'm not
Yeah,
sure yet.
it is, because I have no idea like what I wanna do, or like any majors. I don't know like any of the requirements, or like what it takes to like really succeed in it. I don't know what like um job I wanna go in with a certain major and stuff, or a certain degree and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and that's why I have not picked, or even
Mm.
pressured myself to like pick one category and just focus on it. I'm like, no, I
Okay.
haven't done like any research on it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Makes sense. You see. So if you looked at some of the potential careers out there, have any of them really appealed to you as something you could see yourself doing?
I feel like there are careers that I would excel in, but I just wouldn't be happy doing it as a career, which would
Mm.
probably be accounting. Accounting, I think I would really be good at it, but I wouldn't want to sit in a computer or sit in front of a computer all day just like
Yeah.
crunching numbers. So with animation, it's like the opposite, where I would have a lot of fun doing it, but I might not be the most financially, I would probably be financially well or stable to
Mhm.
support my own, at least. I would probably have to live with my parents or something like that, which is another thing I kind of want to avoid when I'm looking for a part-time job or a full-time job. I kind of want to
That
live
makes
with
sense.
them.
And it's difficult going to animation because often you're working for a studio and you're
Yeah.
working under a producer. What the producer and the director says goes. So you're not really the creative part, but it's almost like you have to climb up the hierarchy.
Yeah, and that's also something I don't want to do is climb up the hierarchy.
Mm,
Yeah. I always thought about like being my own boss. Like I feel
yeah.
like that's just the most ultimate position I can take in a
Mhm.
work setting. But like, again, like I wouldn't know like what kind of company that I would run, or
Mhm.
business.
Makes
It was just
sense.
an idea.
Hmm.
Or
I
an
see.
ideal idea. Yeah. Ideal scenario.
So got a different tack I'm going to take. What qualities in other people do you admire but do not have yourself?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. I really admire people who ride against the wave. Somebody who like sticks up for what they think is like right or wrong, because I am such a doormat. I'm so passive that like everything is fine. Everything's fine. It's fine. Like if I suck, I suck. Like I get it, yeah. But somebody who's like able to stand up and say like, "Oh, I don't suck," and backing that up, being very like strong, having a really strong opinion on that, I think is very admirable. And
Hmm.
it also brings new perspective. It forces people to think or like second guess. I'm so like go with the flow and
Hmm.
accepting of like what other people are saying, that when someone says no, I'm like, oh.
So you like someone who's going to say no to things? Is that right?
Yeah, like my mom, she's like, so it's like
Mm.
she won't say crap from anybody, but I would. Me and my dad would. Yeah.
So why is that? Why are you so go with the flow?
Oh gosh, it's probably because how I grew up. My parents were very like, I'm your parents, so listen to me, and I'm like, okay. I never had the chance to like, I guess, argue with my parents or like really stand up for myself. I'm always like, don't speak unless spoken to.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, thank you. I see. So when it comes to being with your peer groups, not your parents,
Mhm.
not authority figures, but your peer group, are you also still a bit more, as you described, the doormat, or right? Still
Yes.
more go with the flow.
Yeah, I don't like people like pressuring me on like my opinions and stuff. Like a part of me just says like, this is how I think. But you know, some people are like, well, why do you think that? Why? And I'm like, I have a hard time like putting it in a clear and precise way that people are able to understand exactly how I'm thinking or exactly how I feel about it. Yeah.
Could you by any chance give me an example?
Oh man, like when it comes to like maybe controversial like movie takes on like stuff like that, and let's say everybody thinks the ending was amazing and I think that the ending was lacking. There's probably going to be a hard time on backing up why I think it was lacking. But and people might be like really aggressive about it, and I think that is also what kind of like puts me in a corner, is like this voice. It's good if it's like lighthearted stuff, but when people are like, why? So like, whoa, I get chills. I'm like, let's have a civil conversation. It's not that deep.
Right, but that's also, it's interesting, that point, because on the one hand you like people who say no to things, who are, that's quite, well, at least could push back when people are trying to apply pressure to them. But I guess if someone's trying to apply pressure to you, you don't want them to apply pressure to
Oh
you.
yeah, I'm like, hell no. Yeah, I get really nervous and I get a lot of anxiety when people put pressure on me. Yeah, but when I see other people do it, I'm like, well, when I see other people do it, I kind of wish that I was that person. Like I am the person to like stand against the crowd and speak up. And that's what I think is so admirable.
Thank you. So let me see. What other hobbies do you have? I know you like to collect books, and you like to collect some
I just
quite
love
gothic
collecting.
books.
I love collecting useless things. I have like, you can see on my closet, I have a bunch of
Yeah.
figure boxes, right? But
Yeah.
all the figures do is sit there. Oh, like all they do is sit there. But there's like, they're so aesthetic. And like, I have a bunch of posters behind my computer and stuff like that. I love collecting physical music, like record vinyls and CDs and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just collecting the physical rather than like reading on a Kindle or listening to music on Spotify. It just sucks some sort of like fun out of me.
Why is that? Why is it that the physical is something which you like to collect more than just having it on Spotify?
I think like the memories being like when I have it, then I'll be like, oh, I remember like when I got it or like who I played this track with. And then when it comes to like books, I'm able to retain the information better. And when it comes to schoolwork, I still write on pen and paper, even though I tried the whole iPad and computer note method. But when I write on pen and paper, I'm just able to retain and memorize it more than if it were digital.
Thank you. So, in what situations do you feel that you're least confident?
Least confident? Probably when people like pressure me to do anything, pressure me to act, pressure me to speak. Like I just start panicking because it's kind of like I'm not prepared enough to like just go. I need some sort of like 3, 2, 1 warning.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, being prepared, are you someone? Are you more go with the flow, or are you more someone that has a plan and likes to stick to it?
Very much both. Very much
Right.
both. I guess like when it matters, then I should at least have a brief idea of like what I want to talk about or what I want to do. But usually like when I hang out with my friends and stuff, I'm super like go with the flow. We have no schedule. We have no like certain time to be home and stuff. So that's when I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. Or like I'm so lazy sometimes. So even though I could plan out my day before, there's a 70% chance I don't follow through with it that day, the next day. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. So yeah, I'll flip it around. What situations are you most confident?
Most confident? Situations. I want to say maybe when I'm allowed to like perform on my own. Like I don't need to like rely on people, I guess. If I am just like in my own little corner doing whatever it is, I think I could produce like the best work and feel very confident about it. Because once I present it to people, then I feel like I start feeling good. But I guess it's people looking at me in the progress or in the process of doing whatever it is I'm doing. I start getting a little shaky because I'm like, oh, things have to go like you can't just look like an idiot. You can't look like a deer in the headlights, So if I present people something like finished or something that seems good in terms of quality, then I feel like good about myself and I want like praise, like great job or something like that.
Thank you. So let me see. In what areas do you tend to be most stubborn?
Oh man, it all depends on my mood. On my mood. Sometimes I just don't want to do anything, and my dad will just like spontaneously tell me to do something, and I can be so stubborn. I'll be like, no, so many reasons why I don't want to do it, and stuff like that. I could become really moody and unpleasant.
Why wouldn't you want to do it? What is that feeling of not wanting to do it, and where does that come from?
Oh, I think it comes from like the brief outline of me waking up and saying that I don't want to do anything today. And so the fact that somebody had to spontaneously come into my room and say, go do this, I'm like, it like messes with my perfect day that I was gonna have of not doing anything. Or again, like there was no heads up. It was very much go do it. It wasn't like, can you go do this in a few hours or maybe in 30 minutes? It's like go now. And I'm like, bro.
So this is very, very, I guess it's very interesting. So you admire people who can stand out from the crowd, but you also want people to be almost quite more sort of gentle, more sort of inviting, and sort of asking for your permission rather than telling you. Right.
Yeah. And so like I guess it kind of applies where my dad is just coming in, go do this.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, you didn't even ask if I had plans or if you're not being very considerate. And so therefore that makes me not want to do it. But it's only because he's my dad or my family. I live with him like 24/7.
So what about with friends? What about with where are you stubborn outside of? Because I think it's family. It's family. You always gonna be fun. Not always, but you're more to be fun, comfortable with family, and more to be that sort of more less agreeable self. But what about outside of the home? When you're at your most stubborn?
Friends, well, actually, a lot of my friends are equally as passive as I am. So, yeah, but if a friend comes up to me and complains about the same exact problem, like over and over and over again, and I give them like some sort of solution, just because I'm so annoyed, I'm like, stop talking to me about this. Like, I don't want to hear this. Stuff like that. Then I could start getting stubborn or maybe like dry or passive aggressive because I'm like, well, you're not listening to me. So it's like, why should I listen to you? But that rarely happens. I don't think any of my friends has ever seen me even like slightly pissed. Everybody has seen me as just normal or happy. Yeah.
Right. Let me see. What else can I ask you? So I guess I'm interested in the aesthetic also. So you say you like to collect useless things. There's a certain aesthetic choice that you've made. Why that aesthetic in particular?
It's just like some personal thing that like calls to me that something is like, wow, this is like I could like see myself in some sort of like object, which sounds really weird, but like the posters I have in my room are all some like either artists or shows that I really like, and they just hold a very special heart to me. And if it's just visually visually pleasing, then I'm like, sold. I'll buy it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a personal connection, and it's visually pleasing, and there's an idea
Yes.
you can sort of relate to it. Okay.
Mm.
Let's see what else I can ask you. So, So you said you got friends that some are quite passive. Do you have a lot of friends?
You know, when I think of like the term friend, I think of like maybe some super deep, intimate connection with
Yeah.
people, right? Like they got your back and stuff like that. They're always there for you. But I guess none of my friends I have now would do that. They would say they do it, but I think when the time comes, they would not show up. So I kind of use them as like social interactions and like getting outside the house or having like deep conversations and stuff like that. Just like human interaction rather than like reliability and ride or dies or something like that.
Okay. So in other words, you have people. You're not. That suggests to me. Feel free to correct me if I've misunderstood.
Mhm.
But it sounds to me like that means that you've got a number of friends around you, more for socializing. You don't have a
Mhm.
very high expectation on them. It's more
Because when I used to have a high expectation, I would most likely get disappointed. And then this like whole skepticism starts arising and I start distancing myself and it created this whole horrible cycle of having high expectations for friends. And so I realized to lower it, I
okay.
guess. Or not at least expect that much. I literally expect the bare minimum.
Would you be a ride or die person to others?
Yes. Yes. And I think that's why I get so disappointed because it's like, man, I'll never do this to you. Can't believe that you would do this to me. That's why I'm so like such an advocate for like actions speak louder than words. And I don't buy into things or like sappy things that people say, like, you're my best friend or I'm always gonna be there for you because I get very skeptical and like, do you really mean that? Yeah. So that's why I don't even say those type of things. It's so hard for me to be like vulnerable in that sense, like saying I love you to my friends and stuff like that.
There's a need to be genuine, need to be sincere.
Yes. Yeah. I can't say something just because like heat of the moment and they say I love you, but it's not like I can say I love you too easily just because they said it to me. I'm like, thanks. Yeah.
So is there anyone that you do trust to that level?
No, not at all.
No.
No one's like even close to the like level of trust I have with my family. My family is like the expectation for ride or dies, but I haven't found those qualities in any of my friends, or even like potential quality in any of my friends.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So you it sounds to me like you know who you can trust, and you know actually I can't trust any of them, but I like hanging out with them. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, I do think that in the beginning of relationships, I can actually trust too easily. And it kind of seems like I'm throwing myself onto that person. But again, once somebody says something that doesn't line up with their actions, then this whole like skepticism and distancing starts happening. I'm like, ooh, and it can go like it can go from us like talking every single day to me being super dry and not responding for like a week. If some things that I didn't like were to happen.
And why only a week?
Oh, that was just like give or take. Sometimes it's months, like literal months, like 8 to 12 at least. It's where I'm like kind of sick of that person, and then I need to like reset or I don't know, find someone new, which sounds really messed up. But that was probably like my worst habit. Like during high school, I always had a like new group of friends every year or every semester, and but I feel like it was because I I kept hanging out with that person, so inevitably I was gonna get bored of that person or get sick of them in some way. And so over quarantine, where I didn't see anybody for 2 years, I learned how to balance out my time spent with them so I can actually have longer relationships with these people instead of having like a run and then it's stopping and then moving on to someone else.
Right. That makes sense. So the idea of actually rationing your time so that the relationship doesn't overheat, you could say.
Yeah, I think I could get burned out easily. But I was so like reckless, I guess. I didn't think of that as like a pattern in all the friendships I had. But it was probably because of my mom who gave me that outside perspective of how I am with my friends that really helped me recognize what kind of or like why it kept happening. These like burnouts and stuff like that.
And am I right in saying that burnout is because they then would do something which would cause you to doubt the trust that you may have had in them?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I guess I wonder is that bar for someone to really be a ride or die for you really such a high bar?
I think in terms of words, no, but in terms of consistency, yes. Like if somebody were to like slip up, I guess I would let it slide. But if were to keep happening, they would drop very, very low in my
Right.
my priority list, I guess.
I see. Okay, so for you, it's more that you got like a sort of not quite a strike system, but almost like you'll give them another chance, you give them another chance, maybe, but eventually becomes a pattern. Then,
Yeah, I think I do take like apologies very literally. Or sometimes I do think it's genuine,
yeah.
and then people would repeat the same mistake, and I'm like, what the hell?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So why do you tend to be very outwardly happy to people?
Again, I think it probably stems from like my parents. My parents think I'm so like emotionless and judgmental and kind of cold and standoffish that people wouldn't enjoy my presence if I was like that to everybody I met. And so over time, I learned how to, make good eye contact and smile and make sure people are heard. But I do think it's more of a mask than like how I am 24/7. Like I'm very flat and monotone, and I see the type of reaction it has on people, or type of yeah, I guess type of reaction it has on people, where people think that I don't care about what they have to say or something like that, and I just hurt their feelings, and I feel bad. So I try to be happy or smile a lot.
So that's interesting. So it's interesting because I'm just trying to think in terms of so you say that at home with your parents, there's a sort of far more emotionally blank, more judgmental version of you, and
Mhm.
that the sort of the happiness, is sort of the positive exclamations, that sort of thing, is more something you've learned you need to put on more so that people are going to respond better to you.
Yeah, it's like a mechanism, I guess.
So,
Um,
so I guess the question is why? Why would you want people who to respond positively to you in that sort of more socializing atmosphere?
I think I yearn for like deep connections with people and intimate ones, and I would have a harder time actually getting to know people if I were so like flat or non-expressive. Or it's like, why would anybody care what you have to say if you don't care about what they have to say?
Hmm.
So I think returning the energy to anybody who I'm with will be better overall for me and my like heart.
Hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Let me see. I don't know. It doesn't strike me as though that's also that sort of that mask is a weaker area for you. I don't know.
No. I've most not I'm gonna not say most, that's probably inaccurate. Some people that I've met after like our first conversation, and I'm the type of person that can really hold a conversation where we could talk for hours, and I'm just feeding them questions that they want to hear, or I guess digging deeper. And these
Yeah.
people have like told me that they felt a deep connection with me. Like it was like I got them, or I knew exactly like what they were saying and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's a weak point, and I don't think it comes off
No.
as fake or anything to other people.
No.
Very, yeah, genuine.
Hmm. Let me see. So I wanted to go back to the idea of useless things.
Okay, yeah.
Why did you say useless things?
They have no practicality at all.
Really?
Like they cannot be used for anything else but to be displayed. Like that is all I collect.
And what is practicality to you? Is that something you like? Is it something which you don't like? I don't know.
It's something that I could just use up and like make the most out of it. So like practicality can be like books, like notebooks, and filling up all the pages in it and just making the most out of its use, or like highlighters. And I loved collecting stationery because I thought it was the best of both worlds, where it was cute and served some purpose, stuff like that. But it's more like a need. When I need something to be practical, I do look for the aesthetic in it. Like for my AirPod case, it's Sailor Moon themed because I love Sailor Moon, but it's also gonna protect my AirPods. So I'm like, wow, great.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to explore your creativity.
Okay.
What are some of the things that you have been creative in?
Um, I used to do video editing. I used to do these like anime edits when it was like super popular in 2020, and I went on this like huge spree. I spent money on After Effects, even though that was like super expensive and stuff like that. Really try to maximize like how much I could put in one slide and how many like motions I can put into one frame. I also really like drawing, like doodling and stuff ever since I was a kid, probably. I always liked drawing. What others? I like baking. I used to like baking. I had this whole business when I was a freshman in high school. I used to make these like little French macaron cookies. But with that one, it's like I learned how to pipe characters and stuff. So I would make like corgi macarons with like fun fillings, and I actually got a lot of money from it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I create just more for people than really also my own, I guess. Like I want to be able to show people my work, and then they'll be like impressed.
And then people can react to that. And
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would bake for like family events, or I used to do oil paintings, and so I gifted them to my relatives, and now they have like my oil paintings in their house and stuff like that.
So which oil painting that you've done really stands out in your memory?
Probably the one I did with my grandpa for my sophomore year project. I had to do a 5-minute presentation on something I could just teach anything to my class. And my grandpa and I collaborated on it. And that now it's like it's a very like memorable piece that I have of him and I, because I don't think I was just an asshole to him, like in his time in our earth. So that was like one really good memory that would always stick with me. Kind of outshine the bad ones, all the trouble that I caused him.
Why were you troublesome when you were younger?
Oh, this is so fun. I mean, not for him, but like I always had bad friends that would definitely influence me and what I thought was right or wrong. And so it definitely reflected on my family. But my family was also the one to put me back in shape, literally give me a reality check or something. Yeah. And so because my friends would I want to say like treat their parents badly, I thought that it was okay to treat my parents badly, stuff like that. Oh, but I definitely got it when I got home, and when I tried it did not work. So it's like I reset. Yeah, but my mom always said I had horrible friends when I grew up, or I just made friends with the wrong type of people.
Hmm. So okay. So there's an idea there about, there's an impressionability, but again, most kids are impressionable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
even
that's
like, yeah,
yeah.
even as I gotten older, it still happens. Like
Mm,
if I were to hang out with somebody for a long period of time, I slowly start adapting what they think was like fine or tolerable or what really pushed them to the edge of stuff, and then it would reflect in my behavior. And then my parents are always the one that will call me out on it.
yeah.
And I'll just be like, this is me. But the moment I stop hanging out with that person, it's like a complete reset. I'm like back to normal, stuff like that.
So I've got another question. So taking this idea of creativity and going forwards, because you're thinking, yeah, you would perhaps be okay with the sort of more sort of statistics or math oriented role. It's not ideal for you because it's not, you actually kind of want to do the creative stuff, but you want to
Yeah.
do the creative stuff for yourself. So I got a question there in terms of what sorts of things would you like to create if you could make a career out of it?
Probably, I wanna say children's books
Mm,
because, I get the illustration and the simple writing aspect, the moral of the story will be clear and stuff like that, and it would all, like, come from my own personal experience, like, growing up and, like, what I've had to learn the hard way and not, and it's also gonna be short.
yeah.
Like, yeah. I don't think I could ever write, like, a novel or autobiography. I think that'd be
Mm,
I would not complete that type of project. But a children's book, if it's like 10 pages, I think I can do it.
yeah. So I guess why children's books? Is it because of the length? Is it because you've got a story to tell? What is about children's books?
I think there's a easiness to it. I don't think it's like as technical, or maybe I don't have to store all my brain power into it. I think children books are kind of like there's a general idea, general pattern, theme, whatever that's going on, and in the end, boom, lesson. And I'm like, yes. Uh, to do like very in-depth sentences and trying to explain, it's makes my brain hurt. So I feel very simple in that way. Like Johnny got some apples. Period. Next page.
Yeah.
So like
Okay.
go on to some sort of story.
Hmm. Okay. So another question I wanted to ask you. You said before we like to have deep conversations with people. You
Mm.
mentioned that. So what can you give me an example of one of the sort of deeper conversations that you've had?
I think always diving into your past or
Mm.
maybe like your old mistakes is always a very vulnerable thing to do.
Hmm.
Admitting those mistakes and really seeing how people dealt with it and they how they dealt with it and maybe made their life for the better based off of those mistakes, I find super interesting because I mean obviously I have those type of experiences as well. And so when we're able to exchange those stories and stuff, I do think there's a deeper connection found between me and this person.
Hmm. So I think because remember you've even mentioned in this interview, some of the mistakes which you made when you were young. So this idea of being open, being honest, being vulnerable about those mistakes and how that you've actually grown. That I can see that theme.
Hmm.
See
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I think it's always been a super important part of me to
Yeah.
kind of march forward, and even though that it did happen, it's more about like what you can do now or what you can do in the future to sort of like prevent it or maybe be more aware of it. Try not to make the same mistakes.
Hmm, thank you. Um, I got another question. How easy is it for you to move from thinking about something to
Mhm.
acting on it?
I guess it just depends on how big of an impact that will have on me, the other person, or just the environment, and maybe how that decision will affect me in the long run.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of thinking that goes on behind those things. And so once I've decided, there's no going back. it's like I put too much effort into thinking about it that I cannot possibly second guess myself now. And so once I act on it, it's like, that's it. Wrap, move on.
Okay, thank you. How easy is it for you to change your mind?
I would not say very easy. I could be very stubborn because I'm like, hey, I put so much thought into this just for me to come to this outcome, and now you're maybe trying to convince me to change my mind. Oh, hell no, that's not going to work. So that, yeah, could be very stubborn in that sense.
Okay, thank you. Let me see. So another thing we talked a bit about children's books, talked a bit about how to exercise your creativity. It seems to me, and I'm willing to explore this. I'll tell you where I am at the moment. So I think most likely, I'm leaning more SEI, but I'm also open to IEI. I'm leaning more SEI, but I'm not entirely sure. Now, what's leading me towards SEI are the following things. But I haven't looked at the comments yet. I'll look in just a bit. I think that there's a certain stubbornness around the level of pressure and pace in how you live your day-to-day life. So, for instance, you want things to be peaceful, people being pushy. You don't like people being pushy around. You need to be nice, inviting, open-minded. You actually believe, say, if Frankenstein's going to create this monster, he needs to be open to all possibilities. And you've always feel sort of dismayed at that lack of openness to that alternative possibility. There's some of that in there, and this idea of appreciation of openness and not liking pushiness. Your creativity seems rather grounded in terms of, for instance, making macaroons, oil paintings about your grandfather, someone you actually knew, related to when you were talking about creativity in terms of what you'd like to do professionally, more children's books, oriented towards people and the idea of going through their experiences and learning and developing. And so I'm, at the same time, there is a certain, we were talking about ambiguity, and I was trying to test this. Was this a question of you getting the wrong end of the stick from other people? And it didn't seem to me to be that. It seems to me that actually, when there's multiple possibilities and there's ambiguity in place, that's when suddenly you're not quite sure how to navigate that. And that might be also why in life, all these different options, but the option is almost overwhelming to some degree, perhaps.
Oh yeah.
So I'm wondering also about the IEI typing and the admiration of perhaps someone who is, doesn't take any crap from others, is very much their own person. But then I think, but at the same time, an SLE would like to be that, an ILE could be that, a Gamma could also very easily be that as well. So I'm wondering in that space. I guess what else could I ask? I mean, another thing is when you said that you want to make up your mind, it's kind of hard to change it.
Yeah.
And that in of itself suggests to me not something like an EII. And I wasn't really thinking EII because I think what I think is quite clear. There's quite a balance of very strong introverted ethics and extroverted ethics at play here. And I think the introverted ethics is actually slightly stronger, but the extroverted ethics is sort of like this thing you're very frequently using. And ultimately in the decisions you've made, you've almost opted for, despite almost your expectations of trust. You thought, that's actually hold me back. I'd actually rather have the social experience of people I don't necessarily trust. And you seem almost okay with that to some degree.
I do think that with most decisions, I have to go to a person like my mom to get her input. Like it's like I don't trust my own, I guess, what my own right decision will be, and to like really act on it. I have to kind of factor in that like outside perspective of what my mom thinks would be like the right thing to do. But But I don't do that with anybody else but my mom. So,
Hmm.
or my mom and no, not really my dad.
Well, the only it's interesting. It's just your mum. You go to your mum.
Yeah.
She has a very clear influence. I'm also interested, perhaps in if there's any sort of cultural aspect here. I don't know. Since you're in the West, you're in California, am I
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Right. Okay. And I know you're into aspects of Japanese culture, like anime. Are you of Japanese origin?
No, I
No.
am a Korean and Vietnamese.
Korean.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about. Is there a culture? I don't know enough about Korean or Vietnamese culture. I would be able to say, but is there a cultural aspect to to relationship with your parents? I wouldn't know if they're
You know what? I don't think so because
no.
both of my parents came to America when they were very young. So I
Right.
do think of them just as
Yeah.
kind of American parents.
Hmm.
And my mom, though she can be strict and kind of closed-minded about possibilities and stuff like that, but
Mm.
I always think that she gives me the most clear-cut advice without hurting my feelings, and I think that's why I
Mm.
trust her a lot.
I see. Okay. You think? Okay. So let me see. It sounds to me also that you admire your mother quite a bit there.
But I
She
used to not to.
you used not to.
Yeah.
Why did you not? Is it just because of your friends and you being more impressionable then, or was it something else?
I think it was when I lived with her, she was very my house, my rules. So
Yeah.
I felt kind of confined as in like she was kind of operating me and I couldn't really be my own person or kind of make my own mistakes until I did.
Mm.
She kicked me out. Then I started living with my dad. Whole rebellious phase happened. Like rebellious teenager, and I did not care about her rules and stuff. So as
Yeah.
my punishment, she made me move back in with her. Oh, horrible. It was such a smart tactic though. Because it really like allowed me to shape up within like the 4 months I lived with her.
Mm.
Yeah, but I thought she
Okay.
was always pretty I always thought she was just strict and then confining my like freedom, I guess.
Mm.
I
So
don't like her telling me what to do and stuff.
okay, so yes, freedom is something which is I've seen this play out already across this idea that you want to be creative for yourself. You don't want to be creative for others. You don't want that aspect to be taken away from you. And I guess I'd also like to explore that. Uh, I guess there's a question there in terms of so if you're creating children's books, you could create children's books under someone else. I'm not sure how much a producer would. I don't know what aspects of your creativity would you see someone else trying to control or take away from you?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
What aspects of your creativity could you see someone else trying to control or take away from you? What of it would cause someone to want to try to control if you're working for someone else?
Oh, maybe if the topic is like I want to say like too deep for children, or maybe like too
Hmm.
adulty like maybe it should still stay in the kid realm and kids kid life lessons and stuff like that, not really more towards teenage life lessons. Because I don't think teenagers read children's books. So, but
Right. Hmm.
yeah, for children's books, I would also definitely be like I would want to be like my own boss for that one.
You would also yes in terms of your life lesson. Look, that makes sense because
Yeah.
there's an aspect. There's definitely an aspect there of you consulting your own experiences and the wisdom you've acquired from those experiences to then actually pass through to children. It sounds like.
Mm.
But I'm wondering. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Let me see. So, I guess a question would be, and I have a feeling you're not going to have a very clear answer. I'm not sure. Where would you see yourself in 30 years' time? What would you need or want to have done to be satisfied in 30 years' time?
Have a house. be able to take care of my parents by this time,
Mhm.
and hopefully have a husband and kids.
Yeah.
Just fulfill the whole like human experience, whatever, you know.
Hmm.
But I'm very I very much want to make enough money to take care of my parents.
Hmm. Why do you want to be the one who makes enough money to take care of your parents?
I felt like both of my parents had such a hard like childhood, as in their parents kind of like neglected them, and
Okay.
so my mom is doing all she can to. My mom is known as like the rock or the foundation of our family, and that like if she weren't there, then we would all collapse and stuff like that. And so not that I want to be that position, but I just want to be that for like my mom and my dad. I want them to be able to lean on me when they're like retired and stuff like that, and be like, oh, like your daughter got you, stuff like that.
Hmm. Are you an only child?
No, I have a younger sister,
You're
but
the younger sister.
we have a large age gap. We're 6 years apart.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got an older one in 6 years. So what happens if? Why do you have to be the one to look after your parents?
Well, I think my sister is on the same track as me, as in she
Okay.
would definitely help out
Yeah.
my parents. But I don't. I guess I wouldn't mind being the only one to really
Hmm.
fulfill those shoes. I would definitely ask her for help and stuff like that, and I think she will be more than willing to. But I think it's. I don't think my sister has gone through nearly as much trouble as I have gone.
Hmm.
And
Why
so,
was that?
huh?
Why was that? Why did she not go for the trouble that you went through?
My sister she's so clever. She's so sneaky and stuff like that. See, I was kind of stupid and I would like do bad things just in front of my parents. But my sister, she like very, very sneaky. She knows how to rub up to my mom and stuff like that. But me, I was a bit more like I guess I was a bit more stubborn and I wouldn't like apologize easily. But my sister would just like kiss my mom's ass and everything will be fine.
What? Why did you go? Why did you go through this? And was it still part of the rebellious phase, or was that more of an ongoing thing?
Probably rebellious phase.
Right.
Yeah, like my bad friends and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, fine. So the idea is, am I right in saying, and please feel free to correct me, of course,
Okay.
but so was that more, oh, my friends are doing this, I need to rebel as well? Or was there something that you were seeing more in terms of this is the thing I'm rebelling against?
No, it's definitely because my friends rebelled against their parents and their parents just took it. Like
Right.
their parents like didn't say anything about it. And that's when I was like, ooh, this is kind of the difference between like my Asian American parents and then my friends who were
Mm,
white and stuff like that. So
right.
yeah, there was just a huge cultural difference in that sense. But I felt like I'm kind of grateful for my parents for kind of shaping me up because I do think that I would just be like reckless and doing whatever I want and then not really building any sort of responsibility for myself at this age.
Okay. That's making sense. So tell me what I think at the moment I'm thinking SEI.
Mhm.
I'm not sure of my opinion just yet.
Okay.
I can look and see what other people have been thinking from now. Now we do have a follow-up session. So the
Oh,
follow-up session will be an opportunity for me to really lock down um, what I think the typing should be. But yes, at the moment, I'm thinking, yeah, there's a stubbornness over sensation, essentially, which is basically the level of pressure you want to be under is what you decide, not other people. You don't like pushing this. But socially, ethically, emotionally, you're very go with the flow. You don't
I think so,
think out.
yeah.
Yes. So the idea, the ethics side is very fluid, but it's
Mm,
also very strong. It's an area of confidence. Where you lack confidence, I think, is more in the sort of the logical side. So
yeah.
and where it is, and the logical side that's clear is when there's a clear, it's almost a clear structure. You can apply it. It's very clear. It's not like, oh, you now have to figure out based on this what it's likely to be. It becomes more ambiguous, but also kind of it's not. As soon as it becomes more ambiguous, rather than okay, I can see the information in front of me. Now I can make that decision. That's when it becomes more difficult. And also, you're very happily collecting, as in your words, useless things.
Yeah.
And even when you are finding something more practical, the aesthetics actually very important as well to you. So I think that extroverted ethics, I think overall, is actually being valued more than extroverted logic.
I think so too.
Yeah.
When I was studying the 8-function model, I definitely thought I had like extroverted thinking in terms of like whatever Myers-Briggs definition. It's not really so.
Myers-Briggs definition. Okay.
So I was like, oh yeah, regulating. Sure. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's like let me explain. So the idea for extroverted logic in socionics is the pragmatic logic. That's the how do things work? How do things work as well as they could be? How efficiently can they be made to work? How useful can something be? How can we look at the data and collect the data and test it and see how it works and then put that into practice? So it's that kind of thinking as opposed to introverted thinking, introvert logic, which is this makes sense, this fits together, this is coherent. This, if I were to apply this, well, not apply this, but if I were to think about this as an idea, it all aligns to key principles. So it's what one's more structural logic, one's more pragmatic logic. One is, well, you understand the system, so you can apply that in these different situations consistently. The other one's more, you have accumulated all of the knowledge, so in each situation, it may be a completely different solution. But the idea is that you find the way which works best for that situation.
That's a lot of words.
That's a lot of words. What I will do, I mean, far easier. I can send you an SEI profile,
okay.
and we can also look at some alternatives. I think. Okay, to test, I think we can go through this better for the follow-up session as well. I can go through the difference between extroverted logic and introverted logic. I can send you some definitions as well, actually.
Okay, awesome.
But also what I'd say is, so I said about the sensation being more stubborn. I think the ethics, on the other hand, the interpersonal interactions, for instance, whether you're managing the emotional effects in other people and how polite or rude someone is, you're picking that up very well.
Oh yeah.
But also, you're very aware of your personal attitude towards people, and in a way, how much you could trust someone was quite a focus for you, but you felt was almost holding you back. So you kind of started to move towards a more sort of socializing with groups of people and different circles over time. I can see both kinds of ethics: extroverted ethics, which is more about moods and emotions, and introverted ethics, more about personal attitudes, inbounds. But yeah, the logic. Another interesting thing is being put on the spot to explain why you think something. That's very interesting to me.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
Sorry. So being put on the spot to explain why, something is, why you had a certain view on, say, a film, on a film's conclusion, and it was like, oh no, I like this, or I didn't like this. Why? And then say you felt on the spot to also explain that.
Yeah, I can definitely. I think it's the tone also that has to kind of do something. Why? Sounds very like demanding. It's like I need it now, and I'm like, well, I don't want to give it to you now. Like, give me like a day or like at least 30 minutes. I don't know. Just give me some time.
Right. So that's the interesting point, because when it comes to an IEI, right? Okay. Well, I'll say for two things. First of all, there's another aspect where you're at your least competent. People are watching you do something, and you feel, oh, they're looking at me. Are they going to think I'm incompetent at this? Are they going to think that? And it's like in a certain sense of, I don't want people to think I'm not smart here.
Yeah, or maybe like believing in something that, like people are saying, like you shouldn't say your opinion if you can't really back it up. And so that's why I feel very timid to really speak up, I guess, in those settings. Because then I'm obviously people are gonna push you or question you about it. And it's a matter of fact, if I'm ready to back up my opinion and I feel confident about it, then I'll say it. But most of the time, I'm like spacing out. I just need to
Right.
anytime.
Okay. Okay. So okay. So I'm thinking of this in two different areas. There are two kinds of stubbornness going on. There's on the one hand, that's the pressure side. People putting pressure on you, feeling like you're being interrogated.
Oh,
That
that's a great way
side,
to put it.
yeah, it's that kind of idea. Like
Yeah.
pressure, you don't want pressure being put on you. That's a key difference between an SEI and an IEI. And SEIs are SEI is introverted sensing, extroverted ethics. So SIFE, right? That type, they don't want pressure to be put on them. They decide what level of pressure is in their immediate space, not anyone else.
Hell yeah.
And they are harmonizing types. They want to create social harmony. You then take the IEI, which is NI and FE, right? That is a type which is, they are very much in their heads. They are very much about where things will be going in the long run. And they kind of feel stuck in their heads. And so they're actually looking for someone to actually break them out of that spaciness into action. So the application of pressure on them, although sometimes they may complain about it, they actually go along with it and they actually become very pliable to those who want to exert pressure. Both of them, though, are very socially adaptive, which I think is the key thing. I think you're socially adaptive, but you want the environment to be a nice, friendly, more wholesome, pleasant environment rather than a pressurized one.
Yeah, the only time that I feel like I'm okay with being pressured is if, like to kind of get an idea out of my head. But it feels very like calculated. Like I'll say something that will kind of initiate something, and then they'll kind of question me on it, and then I'll be like, okay, but I was always ready for it, rather than it being like demanded of me on the spot without seeing it coming.
Makes sense. And I think also the perception of someone, well, could be say asking you to give your reasoning. It's like that there is that idea that, for instance, you're not quite comfortable just coming up with it. You need to take your time to think of your reasons.
Yeah, because I do want it to be accurate to what I have in my head. But I think just my lack of vocabulary is what pushes me back. I can't really express like how I want to.
Yeah, that is a difficulty I find with types which are weaker in the extroverted logic area. It's finding how to utilize language to express what they're thinking in a way which is convincing in a logical way rather than in more interpersonal emotional way. That can be hard. And then especially for IIs and SEIs, looking like they don't know what they're talking about can be more of a sort of a sore spot for them. It's not that they don't know what they're talking about, it's looking like they don't know what they're talking about gets them they don't feel comfortable with that situation.
Yeah, I get that. I can see that in myself, especially when I talk to my mom about whatever like deep theoretical or maybe abstract. She'll be like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, oh no.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
I know we've gone a bit over, but okay, I just wanted to try to clarify that much as possible. Yeah, so the follow-up session, I think we'll be able to lock down the typing more clearly.
Okay.
I'll send you again the SEI profile, I'll send you the IEI profile, and I'll send you some definitions as well, just so that what I'm saying also makes sense. And then, yeah, should we pick up again in a week's time and just see if that works?
Yeah, I have to look back on my my work schedule probably, but I will email you. I'm just looking at all these comments and I'm like, I don't even know what's happening. There's a lot of like there's like I don't know, I think it started off with like NI and then everyone went to SI and then everyone's going to SE.
People are going down the similar sort of route to me. Okay. I feel so unoriginal. People have been watching me for so much. They picked up on my thought process, and now they're sort of, I don't know, they often reach similar results to me now.
I mean, that's pretty cool, though. I think so.
What's it saying? So, interviews a person for 1 hour and cannot be certain on typing, and chat tries to type Lucas here based on chat messages. No, I always think SEI. Let me see. Yeah, okay. So, those are some of the messages. All
Yeah,
right. So some people think IEI, some people think SEI. There's a lot of participation. That's good. Right. Well, Tamia, we'll catch up again next next week. And let's see what comes out of that. Let's see what we got.
Yeah. All right. We'll do.
All right. Speak soon. Thank you everyone for tuning in. All the best.
Thank you.